Hi, I'm Lauren from LSP Actions. Welcome to the first tutorial for the LSP Torn and Ripped Paper Shoot Through Overlays. These are super cool and really easy to use in Photoshop. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you download and unzip and get started with these, how to install the bonus Photoshop actions, and how to get started with this easy edit. You can watch the other tutorials in this series for more interesting edits, including fun edits where you can make it so your subject is kind of popping through the paper, how to change the color of the heart background, and how you can kind of merge and blend this all together to work in your images. So let's dive in. So after downloading the ripped papers from the LSP Actions website, make sure you downloaded both zip files that are included in your download section or in your account and the actions. Now I'm on a PC right now. If you're on a Mac, you can double click these zip files to extract them, and they will make a duplicate copy to your folder, probably your downloads folder. At this point, I recommend saving them somewhere safer on your computer. If you're on Windows, you need to right click and hit extract all. Again, this will be coming to your downloads folder as well, but you can choose where to save the extracted files. You need to unzip and extract these. These are really big files depending on your internet speed. It might take a little while to download these, but that's okay. I promise you it's worth it. These are real photographs. They are high resolution. And you need to do this for both sets. You have the torn paper overlays and the torn paper hearts. So make sure you extract the folders, because when they're zipped like this with a zip on them, or in Mac it's a blue icon with a zip, you're not going to be able to use them in Photoshop. They're done that way because they're big, high resolution files that can print really big, super detailed, because these are real photographs. There is no AI involved in these at all, so they take a little while to extract. While they're extracting, let's go ahead and load these actions into Photoshop. I'm working with Photoshop Creative Cloud. The same goes if you're working in Photoshop Elements, although I do recommend Creative Cloud, but you can use these in Elements. The quickest way to get them into Photoshop is to just double click with Photoshop open, and they will appear in your action panel. If not, you can go ahead, open up your action panel, click on these little lines and click Load Actions and locate them manually. Any problems with loading in actions into Photoshop, you can click on the LSP Actions website, the video tutorials section. That's also the best place to find the tutorials for these torn overlays. In the video library, go to overlays and then click on the torn texture overlays, the torn paper overlays. In Photoshop, with Photoshop open, if you can't see your actions, go to Window and hit Actions so they pop up. They might be free floating like this. They might be linked in on the side. I'm just going to close. As you can imagine, I've got a lot of actions loaded right now. Or they might be on this side, in the case of Elements, more likely. Or they might be up here somewhere in your kind of toolkit. What I recommend is grabbing where it says Actions and pulling them loose, because that way you can really hone down the size of your action palette. You can drag this around. The torn paper overlays will come in right at the bottom of your action panel, so you might have to scroll down, and you'll see as I'd ignore all these other titles. These are some of my personal actions and some of the LSP Actions packs. Torn papers will appear at the bottom. At this stage you can leave them right at the bottom, or you can just drag this around. You can see it's a folder. I'm going to click this little drop down. That's going to open our action panel, and you can see inside now we have the actions. An action is like a pre-recorded step you can play out over your image. Does lots of cool things. I've set these all up for you. You have the LSP ripped and torn paper overlay action. So here's the ripped paper overlay applicator. You have two actions. You have choose the overlay only or choose the overlay plus layers. Choosing the overlay only will allow you to place the overlay over your image. I'm also going to show you in a video how you can do this manually. I'll show you that in a moment, but I've designed these actions to make it even easier for you, so you may as well use them. Choose the overlay plus layers is what I prefer, because this sets up additional editing layers such as change the colour. Alternatively, you have ripped paper extras. Once you've added the paper, which don't worry, I'm going to show you all of this in a minute, You have all these extras like flip the paper, change the colour, change the white colour, darken whites, blacken to charcoal, darken the paper, lift the paper, contrast, warm, cool, and make a new merge layer. I will be using a lot of these in the tutorials to show you how they work. I prefer to work in button mode with actions. If you're working in normal mode, you click on the action and hit the play button. If you're on Elements, that's as far as you can go with these. You can't get on coloured button mode because Elements is a more limited version of Photoshop. With Elements, your play button will be at the top, so you hit the action and hit the play button. But I'm going to click on the little burger menu on the action panel and hit button mode. Your button mode may look like this, which is crazy, so drag the side nice and slow until it snaps into a nice neat column. I'm going to go down to the bottom, let's shrink this a little bit so that we only have our ripped papers on show. Right down to the bottom. And here's our ripped paper overlay applicators actions. This is why I like to have them free floating, because I like to use button mode snapped into this neat column so they stack beautifully, which is how they're meant to look. So now we're ready to go. Go ahead and open up your image in Photoshop. Make sure your subjects have got a lot of room around them. I recommend doing that. In which case, you might want to click on your crop tool. I like to use content aware fill. And you might want to just crop out a little bit. You don't have to, but just add room. You can always crop back in later. Content aware fill is great because it's 90% of the time it's going to get your edges right, especially if you're only cropping out a little bit. So let's go ahead and add one of our ripped paper overlays. Make sure they've finished extracting first to the open folders. Once you've extracted the files, you've got your zips, they're still there, and your actions, but you'll also now have the open files, the torn paper hearts. Let's take a look inside. I'm just going to make these a little larger. Just wait for them to load. My computer is being exceptionally slow today. And the torn paper overlays. So once you open up now, you can see you have all of these hearts to play with in your torn paper hearts overlays pack. And you also have the torn paper overlays, which are rounder. If you don't want to use a heart, for example, on one image, you might want a round overlay. You might want a heart overlay. You can add all of these to the one folder if you wanted to. They download in two for easy downloading and cataloging. And you notice they are red, pink, cream like a darker white, and a pure white tone. The reason they are not 100 different colours is because there are literally infinite colours. So what I've done is kept them natural to the paper, and I'm going to show you how to change that colour super quickly in Photoshop. But for this tutorial, you can watch the other tutorials for that. For this tutorial, we are working on how to just first add your first heart. If you're new to this, if you know exactly what you're doing, you can skip ahead to the other tutorials. But I do recommend watching this one for a refresher. So on the actions, I'm going to choose the overlay and layers. Alternatively, if you don't want to use layers and overlays, you can literally drag one of these and drop it over your image. I'm going to go for the white heart 11 version 10, so I'm just going to drop that into Photoshop and it appears in our image. At this point we can just resize, hit enter, and that's basically, if you're literally adding the heart, that's all you need to do. You can see here in your layers panel you have your background image. Let me just make this a little bigger. Oh, it's as big as it goes. Okay, so here's our background image and here's the heart you've just added in. If you can't see your layers, come up to window and click layers. Make sure you can see them. I use Essentials Workspace in Photoshop. And that's it. And you can give your client this image. You can give your client this image. You can write something on there. You can add other overlays. Super cute. That's us adding the heart manually. I'm going to show you how we do it with the actions and the extra layers that come in. I'm going to choose the overlay and layers. I'm just going to click this to play it. And go ahead and locate your unzipped file on the computer. And let's choose our heart to go over. Let's use the same one we just used. And watch what happens. It comes in just as it did. But let me just resize that in and hit enter. And what happens is now, just take that huge brush away, sorry. In our actions panel, in our layers panel, you'll notice there are more layers come in. and everything is masked. Masks are like lotto scratch cards. So we have our overlay that we've just added. We also have a colour change layer, a darken layer that you can turn these on or off, lighten, and paint shadows. The paint shadows over your heart is great if you're doing the subject popping out, which I'm going to show you in a different tutorial. And you can also paint shadows onto your background. To paint on any of these layer masks, white means show, black means hide. So I'm going to grab a brush, set to white, to show. I'm going to click on paint shadows onto our subjects, and all I'm going to do, a soft brush, is just rub this over. Can you see now? We've got some shading coming in. Really depends on what you want to do with your heart image. But if you want it to look like it's closer to your subjects, you can add this one in. You can turn any of these on or off. So that is how to add using the actions. And if you want to darken it, for example, I can click on darken. That's far too much. So what you can do is click on opacity, and you can tweak this to suit your image. If you see, if I'm darkening it a touch now, it's matching the original background a lot more. So that's how to get started with the LSP Torn paper overlays and the actions. You can watch the other videos for more in-depth tutorials of so many things you can do with these. There's just, the possibilities are endless. I absolutely love these. And as you can see, these are made with real paper. These are real paper overlays. They are not AI, they are not digitally painted. These are completely real and adapted for your images in Photoshop. I hope you love them. Please do watch the other tutorials so I can really dive in with all of the different things you can do with these. Enjoy! I'm Lauren. Thanks for watching.